right, the man who is fearless to wear red shoes. I was like, wow! I haven't had red shoes since high school.
I've gotten so many comments on these shoes. They're great.
Hey, there's another public who likes to wear a black beret. And the last time I saw him, he had 2 different color shoes. So he had hyena.
On purpose?
This is a poem about my work ethic. You get a good sense of it from the title. It's called Malingerer. When one who, drawn home by no other force but pure failure, nowhere to go but the familial locus, what does one do when all the madnesses that sparked the exiles still remain? Malinger, feign an ailment, when all that keeps one from work is an affinity for supine thought, for lassitude. Some days a smile is a Herculean event. We all need the opportunity now and then to self-loathe, to wallow in our own muddy defeat. And so a call, a cough, a raspy voice lowered but only half histrionic, for the soul ails as the body ails, and how often the pain is worse, and needs its share of personal days as well.
All right, Brian. Every time I say your name, it's like,
You just gotta start calling me Daddy more often. This is a piece that I wrote for a show that's happening in May. It was like I had to do 2 auditions for it. The 2 women were very, very nice. And I think they just didn't bring me in because I'm not a woman.
Was this listen to your mother?
yeah.
I auditioned too. They didn't let me in either.
Yeah, okay.
Me three, I didn't get in.
Okay, well,
There you go.
here's my story. All right, here's the one.
All right, let's hear it. And we're women, so I don't think you auditioned too.
Hang on, let me
Nope.
check.
Oh, you just.
I just,
Yes,
yeah, I was just like, I wanted the balls, come here. She stays.
I will refrain from discussing the number of times I've been called a 12-letter word that begins with mother, and then continues with the letter F and ends with the letter R. And while I only fell out of one womb, I have many mamas. There's Mama Sin, the black interior designer from the South Bronx, who's never afraid to meet up for me with a cocktail, smack me across the face when I get too sassy, and then threaten to reinstate my white person card and to stop inviting me to the black people meetings. There's Mama Beeks, the gray-haired woman who works for the Episcopal Church and apologizes profusely every time her dog Seamus gets excited and pisses on my boots, which is every time he sees me. She's invited me to dinner more times than I can remember having hot showers. There's Mama Kate, a woman in her 70s who's still tattooing here in Austin and around the world. And every time I walk into her shop, she hugs and kisses me and hands me 2 glasses and a bottle of tequila. And then I get endless stories of variable truth about her time holding a buzzing machine that will mark your body for life. There's Mama McQuaid, my friend Sean's mother. When I first met her, Sean had invited me over to their family Christmas party, which was a daunting concept because I didn't know his family, I just knew him. And when I rang the bell, a short, sassy woman with giant torpedo breasts answered the door holding a baking sheet of Jell-O shots. Who the hell are you? And within a few hours, she had me topless, wearing a fireman's helmet, and helping her finish the sauce for the tortellini. And I'll never forget the night that I taught her how to smoke pot.
Oh!
Mama Coco, who builds me custom jewelry for my girlfriends. Mama Sydney, who always invites me to the barbecues where I'm the only white guy and she makes me work the grill. Mama Natasha, my little lesbian Greek kukamo, who's married to a Nubian pole dancer and always insists on holding both of my hands when she talks to me. The list goes on. There's Mama Susan. I used to work with her in a coffee shop when I was a teenager. And even after I had quit that gig, she would always feed me if I ducked in and didn't have any money. She's now one of my mother's best friends. Which brings me to my actual mom. All of these women love me unconditionally in their role of a matriarchal figure. I wasn't aware that I needed to be cared for, but perhaps I have a bit of a personal deficiency because apparently I appear to need assistance. And while I don't have kids, I've spent most of my life acting as a father figure to most of my friends, and that certainly takes its toll. I'll help you are 3 words that come out of my mouth for most of my life. And it takes its toll. You get scared to ask for help, even if all you need is a hug. Because you have to be the strong one. My biological mother is an interesting lass. Half Lebanese, half Russian, with a few more random ethnicities thrown in the family tree like a sprinkling of salt and thyme. She drinks too much Prosecco during holiday meals, and my brother and I, were both chefs, wind up throwing her out of the kitchen to complete the cooking. But if you walk into her home and are female, she will offer you a cape worthy of a Tolkien novel, and will whip up hummus from scratch. If you're male, she'll defrost the steak and will insist that all the men go outside to cook it on the grill, but only after you've lit the fireplace for her. She will then proceed to read everyone's tarot cards while regaling you with tales of all the Reiki healing she's been doing. And if you need to fall asleep, aka pass out, she will tuck everyone in on the couches. And somehow there is a never-ending supply of chenille blankets for any guest who might have arrived. Yes, she is essentially Stevie Nicks. She's wonderful. And while this may sound creepy, if she wasn't my mom, I'd hit that. But when you're her son, she's a pain in the ass. Are you eating properly? You need to take more vitamin D. Did you break your nose again? Let me see your nose. I mean, hell, this is a woman who bought me a bottle of vodka for Christmas and then told me the next morning that she's worried about how much I drink. She's a conundrum, and I've given up trying to understand her, but at the very least, she started caring about herself instead of everyone else. She no longer nags, she smiles, and she hugs. And I guess that's what happens when you decide to get divorced after 43 years of marriage. And I wish them both the best as this process drags out for the next 6 weeks. I love my mommy. And I love that I finally got her to accept the fact that I'm an adult who likes tattoos. I got her to admit the number of times that she's taken LSD, way more than me. And she embraces the fact that I will always be her son despite our differences on what kind of language is appropriate in public, how long one can go without bathing, and that beautiful moment last year when we both agreed that Stones are better than the Beatles under candlelight while sitting on my porch. Don't shake your head, you're wrong. I have many mamas, and I've referred to plenty of my girlfriends as my old lady. But I will only have one mommy. The one who picked the poop off my butt and washed my filthy mouth out with soap, taught me how to cook, and taught me how to embrace empathy. I'm just glad that I've taught her how to play darts, to read the work of Thom Robbins, and that it's perfectly acceptable to curse like a sailor on shore leave no matter where you go. And yeah, Ma, fine, I'll wear my seatbelt. Thank you.
Udelle?
Give me a moment.
No.
Okay. I don't have to request a moment.
He likes being hit by a beautiful woman, so
Yeah. Thank God for my guns. Sorry, I'm technological now, but in the past I was not. This one is called Pop Lock It, Drop It, off of my Bible Writer WordPress blog, so it's on the internet, you can find it easily. Pop, lock it, drop it. My sensitive conscience keeps probing me, regardless of fault or transgression. Today's topic is how to strengthen myself in terms of presence in the moment. How to live in the now with clarity, attentiveness, and appreciation. I can't keep placing myself in situations from which I must be rescued. Damsel in distress never suited me well. My impatient ass can wait on no one. Sometimes, not even myself. I had chamomile tea at 9 a.m. this morning just to loosen up and stop planning so much. It helped me calm down a bit, but the lesson in patience still nags me. I think October, November, December, 2011, how you caught me in mid-cancellation. Fresh Longhorn graduate, Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics. I was tutoring one-on-one as a side hustle, and I lost my favorite flash drive. My flash drive, not favorite. I lost my flash drive, and I told you so on my way to inform my student that our appointment was off. You're irresponsible, you proclaimed. Unabashed and convicted, fists seemingly clenched at your sides. What? As if I didn't hear you crystal clear enunciation. Your crystal clear enunciation. You repeated yourself. You are irresponsible. You know me. Nostalgia has served time as my consistent friend for as long as I can remember. She nudged me in the direction of this memory. Pop, lock it, drop it. Pop, lock it, drop it. Were I to take your emotions and pop and lock them for my safekeeping, would I then drop your heart and lose it like the pieces of that flash drive I never recovered in fall 2011? Am I being drastic or hard on myself? Myself, yes. But when I separate me from self, I think not, being that the world doesn't revolve around me, myself, and I can now integrate myself with myself and become reconciled to the fact that yes, the pop lock drop incident, accident to your heart may have happened if we'd hung out like you wanted us to. As nostalgia and I sit arm in arm here in the library of my alma mater, she pats my tender knee, and I'm comforted. I'm glad you said no, rather that you were too tired, under the weather, and couldn't go. How antsy I'd become when things didn't fall in line with my plan. I can say, it's all right now. Yes, it's fine. And I'm here and I survived it all, and much more, specifically to live better than before. And I hope you're well, and I choose to believe that I didn't ruin it all with my own costly carelessness. Human as you. now make allowance for mistakes that require the grace every person needs daily. And for that, I am ever grateful.
Amen.
Years ago, some names have been changed to protect the guilty. It's called Frank's Emotion Lotion. What's that smell? I asked Wallace as we drive down Sunset Boulevard in search of a laundromat. I look over at him and he has that weird grin plastered on his face. A grin that if I saw a stranger, I'd suspect came from a combination of lithium, homemade prison hooch, and a rag soaked in ether. I don't know. It smells like a beach cocktail. You can't smell it. How can you not fucking smell it? It's blasting through the air conditioning vents. It's like asking a death row prisoner in the gas chamber, "Hey buddy, can you smell that hydrogen cyanide?" Only to hear the response, "Nope." I suddenly realize what it is, and simultaneously chuckle and shudder. The morning we were leaving for California, we had everything we were taking all over the floor of Wallace's living room. I was making sure I had the things I'd need, and he appeared to be doing the same. I'm pretty sure now he was just looking in the direction of his stuff and daydreaming, or pre-dawn dreaming as it was only 5 a.m., about the Teletubbies in a shootout with Vikings wearing Versace skivvies, or what the odds could be of Joe Biden being a robot, or the hyenas maybe wear lime green Fila tracksuits. I obviously have a tracksuit fetish. In the natural environment when humans aren't around to see, or whatever it is that passes through his maniacally genius savant brain. He was debating whether or not to take shaving cream and asked me if he could use mine. While I was explaining that I don't shave that much and just planned on using complimentary hotel lotion, I noticed he had one of those classic shaped shaving kits laying on the floor within the assortment of his stuff. "Your shaving kit's right here," I tell him. Then I noticed the handcuffs poking out of it. "What you got there?" I asked. I wasn't entirely sure I wanted to know. "Oh, Sherry's coming to visit from Arizona while we're there, so I put together a sex kit. You know, some handcuffs, flavored lube, a dildo, butt plug, some other stuff." Yeah, I didn't want to know. I started wondering what the other stuff could be after hearing such a casual recital of an inventory that included butt plugs, but I quickly cut that short. It was all just too much, too early. I hadn't finished my second espresso yet, and I'm not processing things too quickly. I'm pretty absorbed in my own problems. For instance, I thought he and I were sharing a hotel room while we were there. I was also worrying about the possibility of my suitcase not being packed right, even though the night before I packed it, unpacked it, and repacked it somewhere in the ballpark of 87 times, which cut into any possibility of quality snuggling time with my girlfriend. She just watched me the whole time, somehow managing to stay mildly amused throughout the process. That woman has the patience of a sniper and a saint. So back to the smell of rum beverages served in coconuts and adorned with little umbrellas that's permeating my travel companion's car. It doesn't take Stephen Hawking to figure out that his flavored lube, which is now coating the inside of my sinus cavity, is spilled in the trunk. The fact that it's his lube and he won't cop to it is really pissing me off. The fact that it's such a ridiculously tacky scent is turning the anger into rage. I think I could have dealt with sour apple or cherry, but this is just too much. Not to mention that he only packed 3 pairs of socks and underwear, and that it's the only reason we're going to do laundry in the first place. Who packs such an involved sex kit for a month's stay on the West Coast, but not more than 3 pairs of socks and drawers? There is a little sac in my brain that holds bad chemicals, and I've managed to keep it intact for years, but I'm pretty sure it's starting to rupture, and an as yet to be diagnosed strain of manic homicidal tendencies is starting to spread through my synapses. I love Wallace dearly, and I haven't forgotten that he's bankrolling the bulk of my end of the excursion. He also bullied the gallery owner who's showing his work all month to hang some of my art as well. He's seriously taking care of me, so I keep telling myself to maintain the utmost of patience for anything. Yes, anything, even this. I need to remember that he hasn't been out of Franklin County in over 10 years. However, after 2,200 plus miles of our individual idiosyncrasies not exactly waltzing in harmony, I was starting to desire a rag soaked in ether. I had been successful numerous times in not taking anything personally. Wallace is wired in a unique way. Sometimes it takes reading the non-existent subtitles to know he really means the best in certain situations, or to know that what I expect to be certain societal norms of courtesy don't fit within his genetically tailored human job description. Plus, it's these quirks that when they're displayed in other ways that make him so amazing. I wished I'd remembered this the other night when he blew the rhythm of a particularly hot hand I was experiencing at an El Cortez craps table during our stop in Vegas. In under an hour, he'd lost his room key and forgot where our room was, as well as where the car was parked, and brought this information to my attention just as I was ready to send the dice onto the felt. I heard the wah, 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 wah of muted trumpets and trombones, as his interruption was surely responsible for the resulting snake eyes and subsequent run of bad luck. I'd been feeling a little sheepish over the anger I felt, which included visions of pulling his entire spinal column out of his mouth and bashing his skull in with it. Okay, this is progress. Breathe, decompress. I'm serene and empathetic. I was just about to enter my safe place when I caught another thick pina colada saturated olfactory blast and briefly contemplated running the car off the road. Let's just get this chore over with. The torture doesn't stop when we find somewhere to do our laundry. I organize our 3 loads and get the first started. I'm in the process of putting the second load, which is whites, into the washer, and he keeps trying to put a pair of black skinny jeans in with him. Sure, my list of past low-rent activities include things like scoring heroin and cocaine in the hood while dressed in women's clothes, breaking someone's arm over non-payment of drug debts, coming out of a rage-induced blackout to find myself at the psych ward screaming and throwing chairs down a hallway. I'm hardly highfalutin, but I'm certainly more civilized than to put black skinny jeans into a load of whites. That's just more fair. By the time I'm trying to start the 3rd load, I'm so crazy that if it were possible for me to repeatedly shoot myself in the head as opposed to just once, I would have been out in the parking lot making one hell of a mess. I put the 5 quarters Wallace gave me into the slots of the washer to get our 3rd and final load started. The coin depositor wouldn't push in. I go to another washer and get the same resistance. This prompts a tried and true method of getting results. Brute force. I get results, the beginnings of a lovely bluish-purple tint spreading across the heel of my hand. I try a 3rd, and a 4th, and a 5th. I'm doing everything I can to stave off a full-blown meltdown. I look at the change he gave me to see. I have 2 quarters, 2 French coins, which upon closer inspection reveal themselves to be 5 francs each, and a Susan B. Anthony dollar. I feel all the tension drain from my body, and I start to laugh. A hearty belly laugh. It soothes my frayed nerve endings. How did someone who hasn't left Columbus in over 10 years get French francs, and why does he have them in his pocket right now? Assessing all I know about Wallace guarantees me I'm in for an interesting tale on our drive back to the hotel.
Excuse me, can we turn off the camera? I'm shy.
This piece of writing, like life, may offend, may appear sexist, ageist, classist, is that the
You're gonna get
word?
beat up by
Classist,
everyone
yes.
here.
And disrespectful and unkind to children. If I somehow manage not to offend your genre, sect, movement, please see me after the reading and I'll work it in. Philadelphia Blues. Her boy, the little shit, was jumping on my head until bedtime. He finally went down, but he wedged his hard little body between us like a submarine. Late in the night, early in the morning, she was able to nudge him out and crawl over to my side. She yanked on it like a taffy, I had to shut my eyes and think about Loretta real hard. I came, but it was dumb. The kind of orgasm when your dick looks up at you barely hard as if to say, what do you want from me? The sun came in and it was yellow, headache yellow, canary in a coal mine yellow. I left the kid in there with her and made my way to the coffee. Some days are hard, and some days pan out into an excruciating monotony. Mornings are thankfully short, but cranked full of a lifetime's worth of drama. And if the morning is any indication, then the day's high point will be when I'm able to deny that I could kill myself at any time. If I can do that long enough to punch out, get off hitch, and make my way through the hated throng and back to our shitty little nest, then I'm golden. The commute was uneventful, the day about the same. The only thing making any progress was my special cadre of hatred. My friend the long grudge. There are the usual suspects, my parents and Loretta, forming a holy trinity of hatred. But if I do it right, everyone I encounter will be included, a conveyor belt into the crematorium of my mind. Of course I cut the boss man down, but dealing with him leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I either hate him for lording it over me or hate myself for not hurting him in a profound way. Him and that job are easy in a sense. It all fits into a box. The punching of the clock is the latch engaging, bolting the day into a lockbox of denial, walking away pretending I'm free or that this all makes sense somehow, which of course it does not. I can't get into that right now. Just let me say it ain't morality. It ain't for some higher purpose, and it sure as shit ain't for a reason, or moving it all towards it getting better or worth it somehow. Like I said, these days the only progress is a thinly veiled denial of the suicide option. So I'm out. I'm making my way. Anybody I can fix my eyes on, moving down the conveyor belt and into the kiln. Then it hits me. I let go the tiniest bit, but I don't mind. I surrender the reptile imperative, the lower middle class hump, and it's like I'm listening to the gentle voice of an old friend, speaking calmly, rationally, in a normal tone about the bomb beneath the seat on the L car. The friend is telling me it'll go off at York and Dauphin, but the next stop is Girard, and it's time to shine, Papa Bear, make or break. They will die because they are fools. They will die on this train doing what they think they should. And the funny thing is, if they knew they were going to die, if they knew that this little 6-pound bubba gonna knock their fingers back, they would be very sad, dying this way on the L car. And even though they don't know, they're just as sad, the fools. Next stop's Girard, and I get off. Burks and boom, feeling clear. My movements are heavy and final. I'm chopping through, down the pigeon shit stairs, and I'm back out on the street. Past the McDonald's and on the steps at the old bank on Shakamatson, Eddie rocks back and forth with a deaf-mute mumble, incoherent to passersby. How you doing, Eddie? He looks up and gazes into my heart like 2 cold blue dental picks. Guy. Hello, he says. You be here for a minute? I'm gonna go get us something to drink. Yes. God bless him. I'd feel like Jesus, but I'm only getting Eddie drunk. And looking at Eddie is a real kick in the balls for Christianity. And Buddhism. And government. And all of us, really. A real shame and mark upon humanity and what's left of it. Evan Williams' white label, because it turns out I'm a moody little lower middle class bitch. I remember my first time out in New Orleans, getting off the train, geeked on a gel tab and jars of instant coffee, making my way to the quarter. The bodegas there like warm little hamlets lit up like a dream. That was when I discovered Evan Williams' white label. And I was young. I was so young and cocky and fuck you. My man, I hit it, hand it over, sit down next to Eddie. He hits it like a true alcoholic. He means it and holds on with what nubs of fingers he's got left. How can anybody in this country, let alone this century, be left out here and looking like this, smelling like piss, at the scant mercy of the elements, ill, cast aside and left out here like a dog? It breaks my heart, and Eddie breaks my heart. There's a trap in every face and walls behind every set of eyes. You think you're trapped, and you are. You think you're going to die, but you really are. and there's nothing you can do about it. You want to feel sorry for yourself and take refuge, pull up the covers and roll over. You hate your life, but you don't want to die. Death is cold and uncomfortable. You just want to bemoan and victimize, you, yourself, and everybody. Eddie coughs over the steam grate violently, the blood vessels flaring in his eyes, his whole body racked by a silent and deadly boom from within. You think you're fucked and there's no way out. And you're right. But let me tell you something. You have no fucking idea. Thank you.
Aaron?
This, I don't know what to say actually. I'm trying to write my writing. Oh wait. All right, so this is the conclusion of the story I was writing. This intricate comic book that I started going off in. Essentially what happened was it's supposed to be this whole like, I don't know the right word I'm trying to use, but it's just sort of like comparative, I don't know, it's just a conclusion of what was going on. I'll just read it. This just in. Sally was found mutilated behind a abandoned building today. Investigators believe a demon cult was behind it, finding signs of pagan practices, thinking fluids and bones of unidentified animals. Apart from Sally remains, other body parts of another man was found, not too far from the location. Also believed to be a pagan practice, for the same incisions and cuts were made that appeared on Sally. Oh, let me start that one. Also believed to be a pagan practice, for the same because the same incisions and cuts were made there appear on Sally. If anyone has any information about this, please contact local police and/or FBI hotline. Thank you.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know what this says at all here, but I'm gonna read it. Like the soldier standing at Troy's gates, hearing no other reason to fight than for the countrymen and their life. And as the ruby sunset laid on the bed behind the seas, the jubilant cheers for the dead and living were heard beyond Greece. The fathers and mothers in the motherland of our souls, transposing thoughts to the similar song, wish I could properly pray for what it was or what it is gone, but like an old I don't know what it says, like an old prophet says, like these stories of my call, what I will be. Wisdom is knowing when to let go and continue. So now I question my religion, followed by this God-given nation. Reveal your ways, just like Ma Pa told me. Choose examples that you want to be, but choose close. But take a closer look at those ancient books. Reveal to me a different story of a lust and lust and anxiety, always of scarcity, never enough. The gods among us want more blood, blood, blood. The iron of the world, never enough blood, never enough service, never enough drugs, never enough chasers, never enough anything. But I want a song of salvation instead of hate towards a nation. But it's one of the same, traced back to the dollar bill, to the same Swiss bank accounts that no one will reveal of who has what and who owns who. And if freedom was ever free to choose, then why am I still here to lose? A slave race picking at cornflakes for the same men who put them there. $5 a day, no hope for a raise, as the men there are eating their steaks. You know?
This is my third time here, and this has been one fantastic experience. I'm delighted to be here. I've also noticed in listening that there's a lot of talent here. Something was said earlier about being stardust, and there's a few other things out there that, for some reason, I think what I have picked out to read today ties into all of it. And by the way, if you lose something, it's always the last place you look. Stop looking. This is something that I wrote 4 years ago now. In my journey of being who I am, being trans female, this is something that I experienced back in 2013. On Monday, May 13, 2013, I traveled to Austin for a job fair. I'll forego the details of the job fair, but because it's what happened after the job fair that I'm writing this. I'm still thinking, did God just talk to me? I honestly believe he did. To describe the events leading up to following, back up. To describe the events that led up to what happened following your job fair, I drove to the other side of Austin to check on a possible job. When that was done, I marked it off my to-do list. I went to Walgreens, purchased a concealer stick. The sales lady knew immediately it was for me. As she asked, "Is that for you?" I just smiled and said, "It sure is, thank you very much." Went out to my car and began to strip down to my bra and panties, put on a black and white dress, then began to apply my makeup in my car. There was another reason for being in Austin, and that was to attend a Transgender Education Network of Texas monthly meeting, which was scheduled at 8 p.m. that evening. I looked at my time, it was only 2 p.m., another 6 hours to go before the meeting. No sense in driving back home and then turn around and drive back. The wisest decision, absolutely, was to do a bit of shopping and then find someplace to eat. And since I had brought my 4 agreements book with me, I could pass the time in reading the book again. But where could I go eat? It didn't take me long to remember a restaurant that I had been once before. The last time I had been there was back in November or December. Anyway, I remember the food was good. There was an outdoor seating under some trees. After applying my makeup came my jewelry. A lady at a jewelry store once told me that a lady always wears no fewer than 7 pieces of jewelry. Jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, ring, I had for sure had to have 7. The last item that I put on was a pair of black bobs that matched the dress that I was wearing. I also brought a pair of 2-inch heels for later. As soon as I had everything in place, I began my journey across town. As I drove, I decided that I would stop off at a couple of stores I had shopped before. As I looked at the opportunity, it was another opportunity to be out at Step. I drove down maybe 4 or 5 blocks, found a parking spot. The sign said 2-hour parking. No way was I going to be there for more than 2 hours. I went into the store I had been before. And just as I was about to leave, there was another store on the other side of the street that caught my eye. There was just no way. There was just so much to look at. The store rep was very polite and helpful, and she said, "Let me know if you find something. I can let you into the changing room." Looking as much as I could, I suddenly saw a yellow dress. I had seen several ladies wearing yellow dresses, and I had the urge to have one for myself. Well, the size was a medium, which was just perfect for me. Looking at the price tag, well, that was a bit rich for me. But it was still calling my name. As I held the dress in my hand, the sales lady came back over and said, "Did you find something, sweetie?" I replied, "I sure did." She then took me to the back of the store to the fitting room. There was 2 other ladies already trying on clothes. I felt bad when she began to remove a huge amount of dresses from another fitting room. I stepped in, pulled the curtain, stripped down my bra and panties. I slipped the yellow dress over my head. I felt so much that I wanted to dress. Then I heard a voice, "Honey, are you going to let me see in that dress?" I opened the curtain and she stepped in. Looking at me, she said, "The sash ties in the back. It looks better that way." I hadn't even gotten that far, as I had only hooked the top part. She moved behind me and had me lift my arms as she tied the sash behind me. "Oh, it looks great on you, honey." Then she said something, then, I suppose the better part of my judgment rushed over me as much as I wanted to be here with the dress, something that she told me that I can wait. I closed the curtain, changed back into my own dress, still having a feeling that I really wanted that dress. As polite as I could, I said I was going to have to wait. And then she replied, "All right, honey, we'll be getting more yellow dresses in soon." I returned to my car to begin my drive to the other side of town. The restaurant was called Central Market. I parked at the far end of the parking lot. I was unsure just where the entrance was. After all, I had only been there 2 months before. Where I parked meant I would have to walk across the parking lot on alongside the sidewalk. As I walked, I felt completely comfortable and totally relaxed, and may I add, absolutely confident that I am totally female. As I went through the line, a cute guy asked me, "What would you like to have today, ma'am?" I looked around and then replied, "May I see the menu, please?" He quickly handed me a menu and then stood there for a few moments. There was so much to choose from, I decided to ask him what he would recommend. He quickly said, "Try the pasta with beef, and may I suggest a garden salad?" I replied, "Thank you very much, sweetie. That is exactly what I will have." He then gave me a device that beeps when the food is ready. I got a glass of tea and made my way to the picnic area. I selected a table across the patio near the store across from the restaurant. Looking around, there was a few people scattered about the patio. It was a rather large patio, as it was under 2 large trees. There was an area for small children and another area, I suppose, for grown-ups. As I sat down, I sipped on my tea and then pulled out my book and began to read a few pages. As I glanced up, there was a lady that had just sat down a couple of tables across from me. I went back to reading my book. It was such a great day to be here on the patio. Suddenly the device began to hum. My food was ready. I began to pick up my purse, placed it on my shoulder, and walked back inside. I placed the device on the counter and picked up my food. Oh, the first bite. Oh, that was delicious. Now, I'm not a fast eater. I eat rather slowly, just my habit. As I tried to savor the food, the flavor of the meal. As I ate, I observed the lady, still two tables across from me. She seemed to have finished her meal and was daydreaming or something. She appeared to be very calm and relaxed. Suddenly I thought, I wondered if she'd take a picture of me. I know she's a complete stranger, but what's worse, what would she say? I retrieved my camera from my purse and made my way over to her. I politely said, "Pardon me, I'm curious, would you take a picture of me?" She looked up and replied, "I'd love to." Then I took a few steps back and posed for her as she took the picture. Then she asked, would you like me to take another? I responded, "Oh, that would be wonderful." "Sure you don't mind?" She smiled and said, "Oh, no worries, honey." And she took a second picture. I thanked her and returned to my table. When I had finished my meal, I slid the tray across the table and picked up my book again to start reading. As I looked around, I noticed there was a lady off to my left, 2 tables further over. She appeared to be writing something. Just a few tables over, there was a guy sitting, sipping on a beer. I began to continue reading my book. I felt as I read, I lost a sense of space and time. Everything that was going on in my mind was just swept away. The mothers with their babies, some in strollers, some holding their child's hands. As I looked at the trees and the birds, I thought of God's creation and how magnificent everything really is. I also thought just how many people are in this world. Well, in my thoughts, as I paused from my reading, I would return to my reading. I would casually glance toward the lady to my left. I felt that she too was daydreaming. I wondered what she thought of me as I sat there in my dress reading my book. As I looked around me, it didn't seem to bother anyone that I was there in a dress. I was a little more than halfway through reading the book when I was disturbed by a couple of birds prancing about on the table as if to say, "Aren't you going to give me something to eat?" I began to shoo them away. Suddenly I hear, "Excuse me for a moment. I have a couple of questions to ask you." As I looked up, it was the lady who had been sitting a couple of tables away. She began, "I have a vision of you in a uniform. Are you a policeman?" I replied, "No, ma'am." Then she asked me, "I have another vision of you with a tennis racket in your hand. Have you ever played tennis before?" I replied, "Oh, yes, I have." Then after a few quick reflections to the first question, I thought, well, I was in the military, so I wasn't in a uniform. Then I said to her, back to her first question, that I did serve in the military. "Maybe that's what you envisioned." Then she said, "I have been watching you as you look at the children, the trees, the birds. I sense that you are a warm, kind, gentle, sweet person who has some struggles, and that you want to be happy. I want you to know God loves you, God wants you to be happy, and God cares about you." I absolutely was flabbergasted. At the same time, I felt that God was talking to me. Here was this lady I had never met before, never spoken before, and she seemed to be saying to me, in a sense, that she knew more about me than I knew of myself. Then I introduced myself as Steph, and she introduced herself as Lori. Then she said that she is an artist, and she has a gift of sensing and seeing things in people. She said that she was drawing me as I sat there reading my book. I suppose in hindsight that I should have asked her to have a look at the painting. Instead, I just wanted to sit and speak with her. I then said to her, "What you just said to me is exactly where I'm at in my life. I feel God had just spoken with me." She restated again, "God wants you to be happy, and you will be. God loves you no matter what." She asked what book was I reading, and I replied to 4 Agreements. She replied, "A great book." I then thanked Lori for sharing that with me, and that I needed to take my tray inside. As I got up and placed my purse on my shoulder and picked up the tray and went inside, I asked one of the ladies at the cash register where the ladies' room was. Around the corner was the reply. As I approached the ladies' room, I noticed a man looking at me. I just continued on my way. There was 2 ladies at the vanity mirror who didn't bat an eye at me. I walked by him, went to my stall. When I finished, I went back to the vanity, washed my hands, and brushed my hair. There was a lady on some crutches standing next to me. She complimented me on my dress. Then as she began to attempt to open the door, I offered to open it for her. She smiled and said, "Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you so very much." I returned to my table. Laurie was still sitting at her table. I picked up my book and went back to my reading. I just cannot help to believe on that day that God actually talked to me.
Am I the last one? No, there's 2 people after you.
Oh, goodness. High levels of participation today. Well, I'm brief. I'm going to read a couple of poems that I wrote when I was an undergraduate, like almost 50 years ago. I just thought we're doing
Arbitrary and nonsensical.
and I thought this might be fun. And I know somebody said, Cody was the one who said something about untitled poems. 2 of these are titled Untitled. So here we go. Untitled. Take away the people who build their sprawling, crowded cities of square, unwindowed structures, who build the factories exhaling from their cancerous lungs the fetid smells and smokes which dull the eyes. Take away the people who kill themselves so gaily on the highways that they build, oozing blood and death as they lie crushed and torn by their own invention. Take away the people with their symmetry and plans, their hatred and their sickness, their explosions of rockets into space, of bombs, their organized tomorrows and chaotic yesterdays, their frightful present. Take away the people, and the world is beautiful, wild and pristine, serene, peace and joy and happiness. But who will see or feel? This next one, I recollect quite clearly that I wrote this during my philosophy elementary logic class.
Paying attention.
All the shallow, moronic little men with empty eyes, reflecting empty thoughts and clean white smiles, attempting looks of wisdom, but only looking foolish. The lips and tongue that move so prettily but do not speak. The wide, unfurrowed forehead smooth with ignorance. The shallow, moronic little men with their occasional looks of fear, the flash of uncertainty, of perception, quickly masked by the ignorant smile of blank teeth.
Wow.
And this one has a title. And actually this one is, it's also indicated as collaborative authorship. Me and my best friend wrote this. It's called Saturday Night Loneliness. Alone, then together, then more and more together, letting go, inner tube, Hopi, fountain, popcorn, baptism by water, midnight lurkers, in namo amor et veritas et spiritu liberati, amen. And we took the bud, blessed it, and drank, buzz, nah, and the bread we broke and passed among us, sing praises to the rising sun, return to sing a hymn of joy. Good morning, everybody. The sun is shining brightly, the birds are singing gaily, and we are feeling spry. Hi? Nah. A hymn of praise to Holy Sunday, and the host in the buzzed heaven, who? Prince? That's it.
Nori?
Hello. I have a couple of poems as well. If I can find the page where I marked them, that would be nice. Here they are. Okay. These are also some older ones as well. I wrote these about maybe 5 years ago now, shortly after I moved to Austin, actually. And I found the journal the other day and thought, oh, I was actually good at writing poem stuff then. I'm good at writing them now, I think. Yeah.
So when you were less educated, that helped you write poetry?
Yeah, and I actually feel like I've lost a little bit of my poetic voice since I've been in school, because when you study poetry and creative writing in an academic context, like on the one hand it's great because you're learning a lot about craft, but it also kind of, they have very lofty ideas about what poetry is supposed to be, so yeah. Anywho, sorry. So anyways, this one is called Facets. What makes those diamonds in the rough so special? Just the right amount of glitter shine, rock hard, ice cold. Oh, let's not forget they go with everything. Everyone loves, wants them. Ask Marilyn and Audrey if you need convincing. Where do they come from? Where in the whole wide womb of earth do they come from? Who cares? They shimmer and sparkle in just the right way. They drip down and up and out, cut to fit any which way. Miniature cathedrals, the rainbow captured in the windows, a million little mirrors to reflect your pretty face. What more do you want, girl? What are you looking for? What if I don't want to be a diamond? Diamond people have no imagination. They get caught up in the wrong hopes. And those shiny little mirrors reflect so much passion, weakness, battles, blood, deceit. What if I want to be an aquamarine? Pearl, bright blue topaz or turquoise. I don't have to hold the rainbow in all my pores. I just want to bring rain, give gifts of truth and love, sing mermaid songs, part the brambles to reveal unseen beauty and glory beyond. What makes those diamonds in the rough so special? What about opals, emeralds, rubies, sapphires? What about the geodes with the purple tear amethyst inside? Crack open the beast to reveal the beauty, if you have the nerve. So here's to the rose quartz, the cinnabars, malachites, moonstones, jades, and jaspers, and all you in between. We in the roughs can be anything we want because we have more facets than any diamond could dare to dream. This one, let's get if I can get it. Oh, yes. Okay, so this one was for a prompt to write about a god or a goddess from classical mythology told from the point of view of their worst enemy, because my friends and I were nerds that way. I did Aphrodite from the point of view of her sister Athena, and if you're familiar with Greek mythology at all, they did not get along very well. So this was the result. Seafoam girl, out antiquing with the mermaids again. Did Dad ever tell you seafoam was created from grandfather's blood when his wool parts were lopped off? I guess not. Here's too busy cavorting with every man who strikes your eye while your beast boy husband creates fire from nothing. Well, my slinky, silky sister, since you made an arrow-shooting winged pig of a son with the war god, do you mind if I have Hephaestus's baby? I mean, you're never home. Would you even notice if my daughter had his face? There's a reason they call me the virgin goddess, honey. I have very particular tastes. I like them scarred and tattooed, horns and claws, gifted and cursed, ugly and so achingly beautiful. There's a reason you don't know about my little gray-eyed girl. She's not in the books because no man could believe that the Thundermaker and the steel-clad lady could make a child stronger than Atlas and more beautiful than the much-wanted goddess of love. And last one, it's a nonsensical. This one is more so. This one, I have no idea what it means, but it was fun to write and it's fun to read, so enjoy. The cat in the window sings to the stars that hang on shoestrings from thrift store Converse, not as cool as the toe-hold vans they flippity-ippity cast the curdled hollandaise. The bluebells are laughing as the rainbow drowns the color-gobbling goblins. They melt together into a marmalade mush. That's what you're eating when you buy marmalade from the beast. And by that, I don't mean summer sky-eyed beast boy. He's off running in the woods with his beauty, who has somehow managed to grow orange roses from her scalp so that she looks like a maned lioness. She a little more beastly, he a tad more beautiful. No, me, I dance with the cats in the flower pot where the rose elves sleep when they've worn out all their shoes. Tick-tock black sheep clock, says the harp, singing a rhapsody while she pleasures herself into a glitter that a fairy girl paints on her toes. Before she goes, galloping on hooves, she makes herself down the avenue of crow feathers and ladies with pigeon feet, while the statues flip the birds like blueberry pancakes smothered in goblin marmalade. Wow.
For the evening. All right, and following that brilliant performance, Thom the Roll Poet.
Oh, well, none of you?
None, you.
Surprise. Come, my muse, come. In your chair, we shall laugh. Explain. Ezra Pound said, without music there is no poetry, it's just prose. So I absolutely love using work with music every chance I get. But bands are really, really famous, like the Invisible Opera Company of Tibet, Terratoma, Glosso, Babel, Blissinities. Don't go staring. These are all real bands. And then I toured this country with a band called Mother Gone. It was an eco-feminist band, 2 Geminis, 2 Taurians. The Taurians did all the work, Geminis did all the poetry. And I come to this town and I find the newspaper isn't really a newspaper, it's a corporate hangout from Cox in Atlanta, and it has absolutely no poetry whatsoever. It doesn't even list this. It doesn't even list everything. So I thought to myself, well, Arbitrary, Nonsensical, is based upon a riff by David Elm, the founder of Gone, toured with called Trial by Media. Trial by headline, trial by deadline, trial by speculation. You judge, we judge, everybody nudge, nudge, media masturbation. Playing a real man hanging around professional reputation. Big brother gotta have some right land, but we're not guilty, poor bugger. We're not guilty, poor bugger. Arbitrary. Now look at the Us-American Real Statesman. It's like I vote for Bernie Sanders and they're against money in politics and they ask me every time for money for Bernie Sanders. On one page, the Us-American Real Statesman, they advocate gun ownership for 14 and younger. On the previous page, a report of a 14-year-old boy shooting 2 of his classmates. On one page, Google self-drive cars cruise around Austin. On another, one drives into a bus at 15 miles an hour. On one page, Bernie Sanders is criticised for advocating universal health care. On another, examples of state-run single-payer schemes are lauded for their efficiency. On one page, politicians tell us what we cannot afford. On another, it appears corporations are not paying taxes and hiding their income offshore. On one page, Apple Corporation advocates more HB1 visas for talented overseas staff. On another, Disney imports staff and lays off more qualified American workers. And please, do not tell me we do not already have a backdoor into Apple smartphones. And why do we still discriminate against refugees fleeing from war zones we created? I treat the selected Austin news as comedy, yet regret the casualties, truth and innocence. Apuleius said the law is an ass. Lady Justice best represented by a blind woman with scales. Tell me, how many YouTube clips of police shootings in Austin do you really need to see? Jim Morrison said you cannot petition the Lord with prayer. Long live those brave South Street videographers as they document arbitrary and nonsensical APD, unprofessional police behaviour. Arresting homeless for the crime of poverty, loitering. Focusing upon skin colour rather than crime severity. Assaulting peaceful civilians in their own home. No fantasy this. Real is arbitrary justice, of which there is none in Austin. There is just us.
Thank you, folks, for coming out today. Our next show is April 10th, actually my father's birthday. He'll be 77. And not in any way related to my father, but the theme is Best Sincerest Lie. In celebration of April Fool's Day, but 9 days later. So, think of a really good lie that you told yourself, you told others, or somebody told you. Write about it and submit it, please, and join us again here at Malvern.